Welcome to the OTA podcast where we discuss everything performance training. I'm Coach Chris Barnard. Let's get into it. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the OTA podcast. I'm your coach, Chris Barnard. And for today's video is a little bit unique, but I thought that this was actually something that, me and my coaches were talking about in our weekly meeting that I thought was pretty fascinating. And it was all about soccer performance. For you, those of you out of the country, that's football. Obviously, we have American football, but I'm addressing soccer. So as you see in our videos, and in our facility, you might notice that a majority of the athletes we're training are going to be your football, basketball, baseball, all the high school sports, wrestling, all of that here in our gym. One of the ones that we don't train so much here at the actual facility here in Florida, just because a lot of the athletes aren't living here, is soccer. But on our online community, we actually deal with a good amount of soccer athletes. And what I've noticed and what we've talked about in our coaches meeting was the success that we've had with soccer athletes. And I just felt like it was something to share with the world as far as our process goes, because we've been having some unique results when it comes to them. So let's get into what we're doing versus the traditional route. Now, going over the traditional route of soccer performance, for the most part, what you got to realize is soccer athletes, they spend so much time on the field already sprinting, accelerating, right? Whether it be accelerating or top speed. They already spend a great amount of time performing agility drills where they're cutting. They already spend a good amount of time on curvy linear sprints, right? Where you're running at an arc, because naturally that's what the sport does. And in fact, you're already spending a lot of time with conditioning. So when we first started getting soccer athletes, and about 6 years ago, I got a high-level professional soccer athlete, ended up winning the World Cup with his country. And what our plan was when I sat down was I looked at from a needs analysis. Yes, we need all those things, but you're already getting a high amount of volume of all that sprinting and cutting on the field. So I didn't want to double down on linear sprinting and agility and conditioning, because you're already doing that. So how am I going to enhance those things, right? It'd be equivalent to a boxer. If the boxer came to me and they wanted to get hand speed and I'm telling them to punch the bag. Again, I'm not trying to teach you how to throw the punch. I'm trying to enhance your ability to not only be faster, but also to have knockout power. So if I can equate it to that, what I'm trying to say is, from a soccer standpoint, is I don't want to do more of what you're already doing at a high level. So what we decided was we were going to focus on the things that he wasn't necessarily doing, even with his performance coach there within his country. And so what we really focused on was we actually didn't do any linear sprinting. We didn't do any agility training, and we did zero conditioning in the programming. What I focused on was first and foremost, when we started off, I developed a base. So I really wanted to put him through from a mobility perspective. I just wanted to increase some of the ranges of motion in the foot, through the hip, and just make sure that he was mobile enough. Now, most soccer players are. So this is kind of an easy point, but I just wanted to make sure I established that. Then from there, what we did was we really developed a base from resistance training. Now, he did some level of resistance training, but from our experience with the soccer players that we work with across the world, a lot of them aren't big in the weight room, which is fine. I don't need to make you a better weightlifter. I'm trying to make you a better soccer player. But a lot of them don't possess the prerequisites from absolute strength standpoint to then get faster. What's up, coaches? Real quickly, let me go ahead and introduce you to Performance Coach U certification. Now, this is the certification/course that I put together for coaches who want to train athletes and not only get results, but also maximize profits in the private sector. The problem that I saw with a lot of these courses and certifications out there for coaches was that they provided a lot of information and not a lot of application. So I wanted to pull back the covers over 10 plus years of experience and show you the ins and outs of actually being in the trenches so that you get maximum results
workouts while also scaling your business. So if you're interested in this, go ahead and check out the link down below and you can get more information.
So what we like to look at, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, if you've listened to me before, you know that I'm looking at like a trap bar deadlift to be between 2.2 and 2.6 times your body weight. I want to see that you could perform a couple body weight Nordic hamstring curls. This is another prerequisite we like to strive for here, or another standard, I should say. From a reverse lunge with axial load, so a barbell reverse lunge, I usually like to see an athlete, depending on their body weight. I know with the higher level guys, I'm usually looking at between 185 and about 225 for a series of repetitions that they can support that and do that properly. And there's a whole progression there. We've also have ones with Bulgarians. And again, these are just absolute strength prerequisites to build a base that I like to see. That was one thing that we addressed. The other thing that we went all in on was plyometrics. Now, this is a level of jump training. A lot of athletes think that this is your typical squat jumps and lunge jumps. And while they do be performed at a low level, again, I'm trying to overall enhance your ability to sprint and jump. So if we know that vertical force, horizontal force directly transfers over to your ability to accelerate and then your top speed, my big thing was being able to load this athlete up with a good amount of progression through plyometrics. And so what we did was we actually trained 3 days a week. One day we focused on vertical force, where it was all, a series of progressions from box jumps to seated box jumps to resisted box jumps to approach to single leg approach. And there was a series of progression where we really focused on developing vertical force. We had a second day where we focused on everything horizontal force. In the same manner, there was a progression. Horizontal, obviously directly transferring over to his ability to accelerate. And then finally, on the third day, we actually focused on lateral change of direction. So really being able to produce force laterally, right? And all those jumps, whether that be skater jumps, whether that be lateral, single leg lateral broads, all of those things associated with being able to produce force in the frontal plane. We did that, and we continued to match that modality, whether we were training, force absorption, eccentric. We would do that same thing with the resistance training that he was performing for that day. And we did that in a series of phases. And what we noticed was he actually, all while he was practicing a good amount of doing all that sprinting, all of that cutting, all of the things that he was doing on the actual field, we were able to add rocket fuel to what he was doing. And his speed tremendously dropped. His ability to change directions went through the roof. I didn't address any mechanics. I didn't address any change of direction mechanics. I didn't add any reactionary thing. Simply all we did was we really focused on a series of plyometric progressions and lifting a little bit more. We also hammered the trunk, the torso, with a lot of core exercises and a progression through there. We started off with the most stable, anti-flexion, extension, lateral flexion, and rotation. Then we moved to performing the basic movements of the trunk, which is flexion, extension, lateral flexion, and rotation. And then from there, we integrated both halves. And again, across the board, we just continued to see all of those metrics continued to climb. Because again, we didn't double down, right, what we were already doing, but he was able to have focus and intent with these plyometrics and these lifts, and we were able to see those other qualities such as his speed, agility, quickness, all continue to rise. So I guess I'm just kind of going over now. It's nothing groundbreaking. But the biggest thing I can say that I've learned is from the culture of soccer is the amount of that they're already sprinting and jumping. You don't want to double down on it in your performance training. In fact, you shouldn't be touching linear speed mechanics and all those things. What I noticed was the best to really get the most bang for your buck in the off season was we focused on those plyometrics and actually building a base and matching it with the actual resistance training that they're performing. And we have seen great success with that. So I just wanted to share that with you guys as we come along these wins within what we're doing. I hope that helps for all my soccer athletes out there because we tend to be getting a lot more. And I'll talk to you guys next time.